I never thought a single suitcase could flip my entire world upside down, until the moment I realized what was inside didn't belong to me. My name is Caleb Warwick, 34, a UX designer living in Seattle, Washington. I work for a growing tech startup, crafting digital experiences meant to reshape how people interact with everyday tools. My wife, Nora Hensley, 32, is a creative director at one of downtown's top advertising firms. We lived in a stylish Capitol Hill apartment, a space that reflected our shared love for design and innovation. You could almost smell the creativity in the air, like freshly brewed espresso on a rainy morning. We first met 8 years ago at a design expo in Portland. She had this magnetic energy, confidence, wit, and a smile that seemed to light up any room. After 3 years of dating, we got married. Our tight-knit creative circle saw us as something of a dream team, a power couple, if you will. It felt perfect until it didn't. Lately, something about Nora had changed. She'd started traveling often for work, frequent client meetings in other cities. At first, I didn't question it. She's always been driven and focused on her career. But there were signs, subtle ones. A certain look she'd give her phone, smiling at texts, or quickly locking the screen when I looked her way. I chalked it up to stress, the pressure of leading big campaigns. But that uneasy feeling in my gut, it never left. It just kept growing. First, it was a canceled date. Then another. Late nights at the office. Quiet withdrawals from our routines. It was like static interrupting a clear radio signal. Small, almost unnoticeable at first, but persistent. Before we dive deeper into this unraveling story, let me know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you find yourself hooked already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming. Trust me, this story is just getting started. It was one of those gray Seattle evenings. Rain streaked the windows while the city buzzed beneath a blanket of clouds. I was in my home office, adjusting the final touches on a prototype. Nora was in the bedroom packing for a business trip to Los Angeles. I could hear her humming a tune I didn't recognize. Normally, I'd walk in and tease her a little, maybe share a laugh. But something held me back this time. Some gut instinct, or fate. When I finished my work early, I wandered into our bedroom to offer a hand. The sound of water from the shower echoed softly. Her suitcase sat open on the bed, half-packed, clothes neatly folded with Nora's usual attention to detail. A pale blue silk scarf spilled over the edge. I smiled. She always forgot small things like phone chargers or extra socks. I figured I'd slip something in, just to show her I was thinking about her. As I lifted the top layer of clothes, something unusual caught my eye, a flash of red lace tucked underneath. I paused. With deliberate care, I reached in and pulled out a matching lingerie set, bright scarlet, intricate, and provocative. Nothing like the things she wore for me. My heart pounded. I told myself it was a gift, a surprise maybe. But then I spotted a small box on the side. I picked it up. Condoms. The air left my lungs. My thoughts spun into chaos. In all our years of marriage, we'd never needed those. And that lingerie? It wasn't for me. She was bringing these on her trip, but not for business. The realization hit, like a wave crashing through me. My hands shook as I carefully placed the lingerie and condoms back where I'd found them, layering the clothes over them just as they had been. I didn't want her to know I'd seen it. Not yet. The shower shut off. I straightened my posture, masked the storm inside me, and stepped back from the suitcase. Moments later, Nora emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, droplets of water glistening on her skin. She looked refreshed, at ease, completely unaware of the silent war that had ignited in the room. She flashed me that familiar smile, the one I used to adore. I returned it, hollow and rehearsed. "Don't be gone too long," I said, keeping my tone warm. "I've got something planned for when you get back." She nodded, running a towel through her damp hair, her face calm and innocent. But I had seen enough. I walked out of the room, my face calm, my pulse hammering in my neck. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. This wouldn't be a screaming match or emotional breakdown. I needed to stay smart. Strategic. If she was hiding something from me, I would uncover everything. On my terms. That night, sleep was a stranger. I lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts playing like a horror movie on repeat. The red lace, the condoms, the smile she gave me without a flicker of guilt. Just before sunrise, I heard her moving around the apartment. She tried to be quiet, but I listened to every motion, the soft thud of her suitcase wheels, the zip of her coat, the clink of keys. I pulled on a hoodie and joined her near the front door, pretending to sip coffee for warmth. Her coat was already on, her suitcase by the door. She looked polished and confident, ready to board her flight, ready for whatever, or whoever, waited for her in Los Angeles. Need a ride to the airport? I offered, casual. She shook her head with a quick smile. No, thanks. I've already ordered an Uber. Didn't want to wake you. I nodded slowly. Safe travels. Don't forget about that surprise I mentioned. She paused, maybe confused, maybe caught off guard, then gave a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I won't, she said softly. The door clicked shut behind her, but it felt like a thunderclap. I stood frozen in the empty silence of our apartment, her perfume still hanging faintly in the air like a ghost of trust now gone. I looked down at my coffee. It had gone cold. That's when I knew this couldn't be left alone. She thought I was just going to sit around and wait for her to come back with her stories. But I wasn't that man anymore. This was war. The silence after she left was unbearable. It wasn't just the absence of her. It was the vacuum her lies had created. I made my way back to the bedroom, the air still carrying the faint scent of her perfume. My eyes scanned the space like a detective at a crime scene. I wasn't just looking for more proof. I was searching for patterns, for cracks in her carefully built illusion. That's when I noticed it. Her nightstand drawer wasn't fully shut. Odd. Nora was meticulous. Always. I stepped over, pulled it open gently, and there it was, like something left behind in haste or arrogance. A single hotel key card. It was white, with an unfamiliar logo stamped in the corner and a small dent on the edge. There was no hotel name, no room number, just the magnetic strip and that strange, mocking silence. It felt like holding a secret in the palm of my hand. I slid it into my pocket. As I turned, my phone buzzed. A notification from our shared credit card app blinked on the screen. Recent transaction, $200 at a boutique in Belltown. Just yesterday. I frowned. That wasn't her usual shopping spot. She preferred local designers near Pike Place Market. Curiosity pushed me further. I opened the app and scrolled back. Another identical charge, last week. I tapped the store's name, pulled up their website, and stared at the screen as it loaded. Lingerie. Not just any lingerie, luxury, high-end, seductive pieces. One of them matched exactly what I had found in her suitcase. So she had bought it yesterday. Not as a surprise for me. Not on impulse. This was planned. Deliberate. Just like the condoms. The apartment suddenly felt suffocating. I collapsed onto the bed, breathing shallow, the key card pressing against my thigh like a ticking bomb. I was no longer trying to deny what was happening. I was documenting it. She wasn't just cheating. She was orchestrating something bigger. Something calculated. The USB drive sat heavy in my jacket pocket as I walked home through slick Seattle streets, city lights blurring past like ghosts. My mind was a battlefield. Rage, heartbreak, cold resolve. Back in the apartment, I didn't waste a second. I plugged the drive into my laptop. My fingers trembled not from fear, but from the sheer anticipation of confirmation. The folders opened like traps. First came the messages, hundreds of them. What started as light banter between Nora and Jasper spiraled into flirtation, then late-night confessions, and finally the logistics of stolen time. Hotel rendezvous, password-protected cloud drives, and most damning, arrangements for transferring padded invoices to dummy accounts. Then came the photos, grainy but clear, shots of them together in cars, checking into hotels, holding hands at odd hours, her laugh frozen in moments I never witnessed. And finally, the financials, Excel sheets with agency funds funneled through fake vendors. Nora's digital signature stamped like a curse on every fraudulent transaction. My heart pounded in my ears. I sat back, staring at the glowing screen, feeling like a stranger in my own life. This wasn't just cheating. It wasn't even just stealing. This was a perfectly engineered deception. She had crafted an entire parallel world, a life I was never meant to discover. But I had. And now I had proof. I glanced down at the key card again. It wasn't just a clue anymore. It was a symbol, a mistake she didn't realize she made. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling with one thought running through my mind. She thinks she's safe in Los Angeles. But the storm is already building in Seattle. Morning sunlight crept across the apartment, but it brought no warmth. Only clarity. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping cold coffee and staring at the USB drive. My resolve had crystallized overnight. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to dismantle everything she'd built. Quietly, precisely. The first move had to be subtle. I composed an encrypted message to Helix Media, attaching a single piece of the damning data, a spreadsheet listing fraudulent payments signed off by Nora herself. With it, I included a short note. You may want to audit your recent campaign partners. More to follow. I hit send and leaned back in my chair. The seeds were planted. Next, I scrolled through my phone and found a contact I hadn't spoken to in years, Theo. We were college friends once. Now he wrote for an edgy creative blog. Back in the day, I helped him launch it. He owed me. Got a tip. Jasper Tate may be billing clients for work that doesn't exist. You might want to dig. He replied almost instantly. That's spicy. I'll poke around. By the afternoon, Theo had already posted a vague but suggestive article. No names, no accusations, just enough to stir whispers in Seattle's tight-knit creative circles. And whispers spread fast. But I wasn't done. I still had access to Nora's agency's internal systems. She'd given me her login months ago when she needed help filing expenses. She never changed the password. That was her mistake. I dug into the database, following a digital breadcrumb trail through Jasper's photo shoot receipts. They were padded, some completely fabricated. I sent the files anonymously to the internal audit team with a message. Cross-check these with project records. You'll find more than you expect. With each message, each whisper, each file sent, I could feel the walls closing in on her. And she had no idea. That evening, I walked to Jasper's favorite Capitol Hill coffee shop. Not to confront him, just to stir the pot. The barista there was chatty, always ready to gossip. I dropped a casual comment. You hear about Jasper? Word is some of his clients are pulling contracts. Fishy invoices or something. The barista raised his eyebrows. That was enough. I didn't need a headline, just a spark. By nightfall, I knew the pressure was mounting. She'd be coming home soon, and she wouldn't be ready. She returned the next evening. The sound of her key in the door echoed like a warning shot. I stayed seated on the couch, beer in hand, pretending to watch a late-night rerun. My heartbeat was steady, my expression unreadable. Nora wheeled her suitcase inside, looking drained. Her hair was a mess, looser than usual. Her smile was small, practiced. Hey, I said without turning my head fully. LA treat you well. She forced a chuckle, kicked off her shoes. Draining. Glad to be back. I nodded, slowly rising. I made your favorite. Burgers in the oven. That got her attention. She looked genuinely surprised. You didn't have to, she trailed off. I shrugged. You looked tired. She grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, but her hands were twitching. The nervous energy radiating off her was impossible to miss. We sat at the table. She picked at the food. Barely ate. Her phone buzzed twice. She glanced down, silenced it. I kept the conversation light. Nothing about trips, clients, or what I'd found. Just silence and slow sips of beer. Then I noticed it. Her fingers drumming on the table. Not casually. Anxiously. A rhythm I'd never seen before. Everything okay? I asked casually. She blinked up. Yeah, just tired. I smiled. Because she was unraveling. Piece by piece. The next few days, I ramped it up. Helix responded, eager for more evidence. I sent them a bundle, emails between her and Jasper coordinating vendor fraud. All time-stamped. All undeniable. Meanwhile, Theo's blog post caught fire. Comments flooded in. Jasper's name was floating around every backchannel thread in town. Then came the rumors. Did you hear? Jasper might be getting blacklisted. I played dumb, shrugged off the questions. But inside, I was savoring every second. And Nora? She was starting to feel it too. One evening, she came home pale as a ghost, clutching her phone like it was her last connection to sanity. She mumbled something about a tough day and vanished into our bedroom. Later that night, I walked in under the pretense of needing my charger. Her laptop was open. Emails flickered across the screen. One subject line stood out before she slammed it shut. Urgent. Audit review needed. Her eyes snapped to mine. What do you want? She snapped, voice sharp. I held up the cord with a neutral expression. Just this. She softened. Sorry. Work's a mess. I left quietly. But I knew something she didn't. The mess wasn't going away. It was only just beginning. By now, Nora was walking around the apartment like a ghost. Her appetite had vanished. Her sleep was shattered. Every time her phone buzzed, her whole body flinched. The woman who once radiated control and charm now looked like someone teetering on the edge of collapse. And I was the one tightening the screws. The audit team was closing in fast. Helix had enough fuel to launch a scandal any day now. Jasper? He was in free fall. Clients were backing away, his name blacklisted in forums and group chats across the industry. The mighty had fallen, and it was only getting darker for them. Then one night, she spoke. I was making coffee when she appeared behind me, voice barely above a whisper. Caleb, have you heard anything? About me? At work? I turned around slowly, feigning confusion. What do you mean? Her lips parted like she wanted to explain, but then she shook her head. Forget it. But her eyes told the truth. She was terrified. She just didn't know what I knew. Not yet. I spent that night on the couch. The hotel key card still in my pocket. A reminder of where this all started. The betrayal. The secrets. The lies. She thought I was naive. Someone who would just forgive, forget, and fall in line. But she never saw this version of me coming. The next morning, I brewed her favorite coffee like it was any other day. But behind the casual routine, another part of the plan was in motion. I contacted one of her past clients, someone I'd once met at a fundraiser. I dropped a quiet suggestion that they might want to double-check their project invoices. Just a concerned third party, I claimed. Later that day, I watched Nora pace the living room on another tense call, her voice rising, then falling. Her nails were bitten down to the quick. Her laughter was gone. She was cornered. One more push, and the whole illusion she'd built would crumble around her. And I would be there to watch it all fall. The walls of our apartment had become a pressure cooker, silent, heavy, suffocating. Nora hardly spoke anymore. When she did, her words came slow and cautious, like someone walking barefoot across glass. I stayed quiet too, not out of fear, but control. The silence was mine now, and it was strategic. The final act needed a personal touch. So I chose the location carefully. Pike Place Market, where we used to spend lazy Saturday mornings grabbing overpriced lattes and splitting pastries while watching the ferries in the harbor. It was neutral ground, nostalgic, and now, the perfect battleground. I sent her a single text. Meet me near the fish vendor's cafe at noon. We need to talk. Her reply was short. Just okay. No heart emoji. No explanation. But she came, wrapped in a long coat, her face drawn, eyes heavy. The Nora I married had been poised, luminous. The woman sitting across from me now looked like she hadn't truly slept in days. I had already taken my seat at the outdoor table. A warm cup of coffee sat untouched in front of me. And on the table, just between us, was the USB drive. She noticed it instantly. What's this? She asked, her voice tight. I didn't answer. I just stared at her, hard, and tapped the drive with my finger. Her hands twitched. Slowly, she reached into her bag and pulled out her tablet. The kind she used for creative presentations. The kind she never let me touch. She plugged in the drive. The files loaded. The color drained from her face. First came the photos. Her and Jasper in the hotel lobby. His hand resting on her back like they'd been doing it for years. Then the emails. Dozens of them. Coordinated scams. Payment adjustments. Fake vendor justifications. Finally, the spreadsheets. Proof of financial theft. Her initials stamped like signatures of guilt. Tears welled up in her eyes. Caleb, she started, her voice cracking. Please let me explain. I cut her off with a slow slide of paper across the table. A resignation letter. Already printed. Already signed, with her forged signature. Turn this in today, I said coldly. Or this entire drive goes to the press and the authorities. She looked at me like I was someone she'd never met. Maybe she hadn't. Not really. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. I leaned forward, voice quiet but razor sharp. Test me. Nora stared at the resignation letter like it was a death sentence. Her fingers trembled as she clutched it, her shoulders drawn in like the weight of the truth had finally broken through her polished armor. I'm sorry, she whispered, eyes brimming. I never meant for it to. But I stood up before she could finish. She had meant for all of it. The lies, the theft, the betrayal. She just never expected to be caught. Without another word, she shoved the USB and the letter into her bag and walked away, shoulders slumped, footsteps heavy, vanishing into the crowd of tourists who had no idea they were witnessing the end of something. I sat back down, sipping my now cold coffee. And I didn't feel guilty. Not for a second. The fallout was swift. By Monday, Nora's resignation hit the agency like a bomb. But it came too late. Helix Media had already leaked the story, complete with hard evidence and financial breakdowns. Auditors descended on the firm like vultures. She was terminated immediately. Her reputation? Annihilated. The once celebrated creative director had become an industry cautionary tale overnight. Jasper's fate was even darker. He was served lawsuits from 2 major clients within the week. His work was scrubbed from portfolios and platforms alike. His name became radioactive in Seattle's creative circles. I didn't attend the fallout. I watched from a distance. Cold. Clean. I filed for divorce that same week. A discreet attorney handled everything. Papers were served to Nora at her mother's house in Tacoma, where she had retreated, trying to escape the blaze she had lit. I sold the apartment. Too many ghosts. Too many echoes. I packed what I needed, boxed the rest, and booked a one-way trip to Denver, a city with no memories, no ties, and no trace of her. She tried to call once. Voice low, shaky, desperate to justify, to explain, to rewrite history. I hung up. Then I blocked her number for good. Denver welcomed me like a reset button. The cold mountain air was a different kind of silence than Seattle's rain. It didn't smother you. It cleared your head. Out here, nothing smelled like her perfume. No old bars where we used to laugh. No shadows of a past life lurking behind every familiar street corner. I found a new apartment, modest, modern, and above all, peaceful. Within a month, I landed a role at a promising startup. Still UX, still building interfaces, but with a team that knew nothing about my history. No side glances. No whispered rumors. Just clean code and quiet purpose. Each morning, I woke up without the weight. No more fake kisses goodbye. No more wondering if business trip meant betrayal. One drawer in my desk held the only remnant of the storm I left behind. The old security badge from Nora's agency, still clipped to its retractable reel. A relic of a life I once believed in. I didn't look at it often. Didn't need to. But I couldn't quite throw it away either. Not yet. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I thought about what she must be doing now. Was she still hiding behind apologies? Still searching for someone to believe her version of events? Still blaming Jasper, the system, stress, anything but herself? Maybe. Or maybe she finally understood what it meant to destroy something that loved her without mercy. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. And I didn't need her to watch it happen. Months passed. One quiet evening, I sat out on my Denver balcony, sipping a beer and watching the sun sink behind the Rockies. That's when it hit me. Not the anger, not the sadness. Just the finality. The calm after the storm. I'd made it through. I hadn't just survived Nora's betrayal. I'd dismantled the empire she built on deceit. And I did it without raising my voice or breaking a single law. That was the real victory. She and Jasper thought they could outsmart everyone. They thought charm and creativity could mask corruption. But kingdoms built on lies always fall. And I made sure theirs crumbled loudly. I never spoke to her again. I heard rumors. That Jasper had fled town. That Nora was trying to freelance, but no one would touch her. That she moved back in with her mother. Her old life reduced to whispers and regret. I didn't confirm any of it. I didn't need to. Now I wake up without second-guessing my reality. I walk into my office with my head high and nothing hiding in my shadow. I meet new people, laugh without calculation, and trust carefully, but not fearfully. And when I look in the mirror, I see a man who refused to let betrayal define him. This story may have started with a suitcase, but it ended with a clean slate. If this story struck a chord, consider liking and subscribing for more true tales of betrayal, survival, and justice. Because sometimes the best revenge is rebuilding without them.